What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Virgin Galactic. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's been really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So on Friday, it did go up 0.76%. We saw a lot of volatility though. So 398 the low, 428 the high. And what really hyped up the market was good CPI data. So we did have it coming in a little bit lower than anticipated for the month over month. So it came in at 0.3, forecast of 0.4. So this is good. But if we kind of look at the true data behind the scenes, this is even better because it does signal that the energy basket right here did go up 1.5%. So of course, just do basic math, that does mean that other basket items went down significantly. So at the end of the day, market got very hyped up because of that. And as a byproduct, we also did see the likelihood of now a 50 basis point cut for the December 10th meeting go up slightly. So at the end of the day, I think that's going to be a pretty good thing. It looks like it did kind of just move slightly, but yeah, nonetheless, this is good stuff. So going into next week, it looks like we'll be getting most likely a 25 basis point cut. And so right now there's about a 98.3% likelihood of a 25 for there. So if we somehow get a 25 followed by a 50, that would be huge for the broader market, as well as just a lot of growth stocks. When it comes down to Virgin, so my last video, it did come out, I think it was on October the 10th, which I did signal at the time. Like a lot of the data points were really showing that things wanted to kind of heat up and it really move higher. And that's exactly how it did play out. So October the 10th, it looks like it closed exactly at 409 and it did have a peak of about 498 or 523. That was on the 16th. So it definitely had a good couple days after that. Unfortunately, a lot of the broader market started to have a lot of fear, a lot of volatility, so we saw regrettably Virgin go down. And even though there wasn't really all that much in news to justify Virgin going down, it was shorts. So ultimately, shorts, for instance, even on Friday, did increase 1.49 million shares. 20.92% of the free floats being shorted, works to be 12.01 million shares overall being shorted. So previous videos I did bring up, I'm not sure why, but the shorts have been returning a lot. So it went from around 37% short interest to a low that was in August of 14%. Again, no real rhyme or reason, but them returning, they added a lot of good buying pressure. And this is why Virgin has been able to really move higher because of that. So with shorts recently doubling down, they, of course, did bring the stock price down with it. So that is why I always bring up shorts, because even, for instance, in Virgin's case, lately, on the 24th, you had about 1.25 million shares overall associated to shorting. Overall volume was 2.48 million. So shorts are making up for more than 50% of the daily volume. No different than the day before. That one's more closer to like the 60%, 65%. So shorts constantly make a huge amount of difference. And so if shorts return, of course, the stock price will go higher and then inverse. So I think shorts just playing some very weird game. Unfortunately, given the fact that we don't really see any FTDs, it is fair to assume that it's not going to be a squeeze play, or at least be on people's radar for it to be a squeeze play. But we do have them announcing their earnings. So this came out on the 22nd. So it's them just announcing the date of their earnings, which is going to be for November the 13th after hours. So when it comes down to companies such as Virgin, when they have very little revenue coming in, so for instance, even the estimates right now, negative $1.48 for the earnings per share, and revenue about 315,000. So of course, I don't think a lot of people are getting into Virgin because of their fundamentals. It's what they can do in the future. So for instance, 2026 is huge for Virgin, and then obviously 2027 and so forth. But future guidance, that is going to be the big deal for Virgin. So even though the bar is set very low for the expectations on the key metrics, this could be that catalyst to really get it on the radar of big institutions. And over the last 90 days, you do see 6 positive and 0 negative revisions to the earnings per share. If we actually look at a lot of the recent ratings, they're not all that bullish. But this is where sometimes there's some weird manipulation that happens behind the scenes, because an analyst can amend their key metrics and their estimates without giving a new rating. A lot of people don't really understand that. So clearly you have analysts being secretly bullish on Virgin without changing their rating, which their ratings do really project bearishness. So at the end of the day, I think it's just another fun element of manipulation, but I think this upcoming earnings could be a pretty big deal for Virgin really getting on the map and really pushing it higher. Aside from all that, looking at the options, today we did see 562,000 in calls, 194,000 in puts. 58% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. Coming from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be this upcoming week, roughly around that 450. So definitely good optimism for that. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 350. So with it closing exactly at that $4 on the mark, that does mean that the $4 and below strike prices are considered in the money. So quickly popping over here, looking at the open interest, you had 2,000 at that 4, so you're not really going to see any kind of gamma squeeze or anything like that. And I think generally Virgin, the options have been dismal. I'm really surprised, to be honest, that they actually have weekly options, just because based on the overall volume, I don't know why market makers are actually doing that. But nonetheless, though, for this upcoming week, coming from a bull standpoint, you see some good optimism. So again, 450 and above is anticipated. Still didn't really see that much in big transactions on Friday, nor even Thursday. So despite it kind of moving back and forth, a lot of volatility, didn't see any transactions on the secondary market. Did see a small handful, so saw 3 transactions, but given what shorts did, it is fair to assume that a lot of these are linked to them. Aside from that, though, with it exactly at $4, it is right below this R1. So 405 followed by 431 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points, and then 364 followed by 322 is going to be support points. And there's a lot of big companies putting out their earnings this upcoming week, and a lot of big data to really justify things to move to the next leg up. So with that, and potentially as well a rate cut, this is where you could see Virgin really retest this 473 range this upcoming week. On the actual chart, though, you do see a little bit of consolidation did occur. Nothing really crazy if you ask me. So ever since the 17th, it did get dragged down. Luckily enough, it did bounce off of that 200-day moving average and did a nice little V recovery. And then on Friday, it did kind of bounce off of that 100-day moving average. So going into this upcoming week, it's just wedge bound between both of those. One thing to take note of, though, which most likely starting on Monday, but you can always be ahead of the curve, but technically you'll see a lot of articles coming out how Virgin is doing the golden cross. So for those of you that do not know what the golden cross is, that is where the 50-day moving average moves higher and it crosses over the 200. That is exactly where we are at, and most likely is going to occur on Monday. So all of those kind of AI driven articles that come out and say, hey, oh my God, look, golden cross, that really drives kind of stock prices higher just based on that and getting the name out there. I think generally that is going to happen on Monday, if not possibly Tuesday, but you can be proactive, get in early on, and then once that does happen, then you can definitely kind of see some higher highs. So let me know your thoughts on Virgin. So even though we haven't seen that much in crazy catalysts, the stock price has actually been holding up fairly well, and shorts increasing as much as they have recently is kind of telling that they're trying their best to manipulate it down leading into their earnings. And again, I think there's always kind of motives behind all of that and why they're doing that. So in my opinion, I think they want to really lower the bar and the stock price going into the earnings. That way, once it is a kind of a beat, in my opinion, and they give good future guidance, this is where it could really move up higher. So let me know your viewpoint on kind of Virgin. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? I know based on the overall volume, it's not on a lot of people's radar, still fairly low volume, but all it'll take is just 1 or 2 good, solid back-to-back earnings, and it's going to be back to kind of a few years back, going old school, where it was significantly higher. So let me know your viewpoint on kind of Virgin. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.